I have been with my fiancé for 3 years. We met while I was on holiday, and he followed me on Instagram a few weeks after. The rest is history. We got engaged last year, and a month later, I found out I was pregnant. We have a beautiful 6-month-old. We hosted Thanksgiving this year, and my fiancé was drinking quite heavily. After dinner, my mom and I were talking about the wedding, which my parents are paying for. I overheard my fiancé tell my brother, who was just as drunk, that he needed to tie me down and get me pregnant before I realized what a jerk he was. They laughed it off, but it rubbed me the wrong way because our baby was not planned. I wasn't ready for a child, and we were using condoms. After a few instances where the condom broke, I decided it would be safer if I got on birth control. The first month on birth control, I got pregnant. We were told that could happen, and he said he would pull out to be safe, but I still got pregnant. I was scared, but I personally didn't want to get a baby on a living. I decided to keep the baby. I work for my dad's company, and my fiancé works at a country club. Money wasn't necessarily why I didn't want a baby. I just wanted to do more before I started a family. I spoke to my fiancé about what he said, and at first, he said he didn't remember saying it, which was believable because of how drunk he was. Then he said it was just a joke and meant as a compliment because I'm so amazing. So I said, okay, good, because we're getting a prenup. I was just joking, but also wanted to see how he reacted. He was pissed. He said, why the frick would he sign a prenup? We have a baby together, a house together, and he would not sign one. He said we wouldn't need one because we're never separating, and that May mentioning a prenup is insulting and emasculating. I never felt threatened or anything like that, but he did make me uncomfortable, and he woke our baby up, so I told him to leave, which he did. The day after I kicked him out, he sent me a long apologetic message about how it was out of character for him to get loud, which it was. He's never acted like that before. I replied, saying I appreciate the apology, but I still just need a day or two to think everything through. The next day, he sent a bouquet to the apartment. Sunday, he sent me a booking confirmation of a massage he booked for me at the club and offered to come over to watch our son and cook dinner. Tonight, he sent me a message saying that I'm being an a-hole and that I'm taking a meaningless joke to heart, and that he's wasting money he could be saving for the wedding on the hotel. But now, things that went over my head before, I'm starting to think are suspicious, but breaking up my family over this doesn't seem right. Am I overthinking this or being an a-hole? Now for the update. A lot of people were asking for context. When I said I wanted a prenup, at the time, I wasn't being serious. Maybe I was being an a-hole trying to get a reaction, but based on the 3 years we've been together, I would have never imagined he'd react the way he did. Why did the joke bother me so much? About a year ago, he lost his job. He was never really clear why. For the next 3 to 4 months, he didn't really do much. He said he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do next. That was the first time he brought up having kids, indicating that he was ready. We had a candid conversation on my part about how I want kids, just not anytime soon. I enjoy my job, I had trips planned, and I wanted to be married first. He agreed with me that we should wait 3 to 4 years. My dad's company got a contract at the club, which is how he got his job there. But during the time he was out of work, my girls would joke that he's a stay-at-home boyfriend and that I'm the provider and he'd be a stay-at-home dad because I was paying the bills and rent by myself. At the time, it didn't bother me. I used to live there by myself before we got together, so it wasn't a big deal, but I guess it was them that first made me question. To be honest, I don't know how long the condoms were breaking. A lot of people are saying they've never had them break, and I can't say I remember it ever happening before. I noticed the first time that it looked like it had split, and then I checked it the next time. That was also broken, which is when I decided to get an IUD. He didn't want me to, but I stood my ground, and we compromised, and I got on the pill. I know we should have continued using condoms, but he said he'd run out and that I'm on the pill and don't need them. In hindsight, yes, I should have insisted we still use them, but I chose not to have that battle. I thought we'd be okay. He knew my opinion on baby on a living and that I wouldn't get one. If I got pregnant, I would raise the baby unless it was for a medical reason. Money-wise, my family's successful. I work for my dad's company. I have 2 trust funds, one of which I got at 18. Before I fell pregnant, I was making plans to start my own house flipping business, but I decided to put that on hold. I still work from home on flexible hours, but he said once we're married, he wants me to stop working so I can focus on our kids and that he'll support us. But I've never really liked that idea, mainly because although I've never had to worry about money, my parents always taught us the importance of financial stability, and my mom's always said to never be financially dependent on anyone. Plus, my fiancé's current salary, I'm not sure would cover all of our expenses. The only reason why I haven't told my dad is because they have a good relationship, and I don't want to blow everything up over an overreaction on my part. Now for a few comments. One commenter said, NTA, he is love bombing you. Make a prenup mandatory, along with anger management and couples therapy if you choose to stay with him. Don't add him to any documents. What is yours is yours. Make a trust to your kid's inheritance and have someone other than him be in charge of it. Talk to your dad, see what he says. Another commenter added, love bombing and then throws a tantrum when it doesn't work how he wants. Great advice to protect yourself and your child. If he's going to be with you forever, then what does a prenup matter? Then another commenter said, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous that he can't even manage to keep up the love bombing long enough for the OP to begin second-guessing herself. Nope, this guy who's never got loud turns right around and gets rude when she doesn't forgive him fast enough. This is a very common trait with abusers. They do something suspicious and then spend a day or two love bombing before getting pushy, rude, and manipulative. OP will hate herself later for not seeing how she knew before they even got married that he could get hurtful, but for some reason just forgave him and went right on with the wedding. This is the moment he showed her who he is, which means it's action time. OP is not the jerk. Now for the update 8 days later. I, female 23, made a post last week about a joke my fiancé, male 26, made at Thanksgiving while drunk. For those who haven't seen my older post, he joked that he got me pregnant to tie me down, and I didn't know what to make of it, so I posted here to get outside opinions. I didn't want to initially talk to my friends or family about it, because they're all quite close to him, and I didn't want to make a mountain out of a molehill and cause drifts in their relationships. Yesterday, we had a conversation about where I was at, but he said he couldn't go back to the hotel because they kicked him out for smoking in the room. He stopped smoking while I was pregnant, but he said I was stressing him out, so he had to stay at the apartment. While I was on the phone with one of my girls in the bedroom, he came in, took the phone off me, and told me to come and eat. While we were eating, he said that he understood what I said and that things need to change for us to move forward. He then proceeded to list all the things I needed to do to make things better. His tone throughout the conversation was just making me uneasy. I texted my dad, saying that he was making me uncomfortable when he wasn't looking. I went to check on the baby, and when I came back, I saw him take my keys out of my purse, but didn't say anything. He took my silence as agreement to everything he said and went to bed, instead of the couch like we had agreed, like everything was normal. I stayed in the living room, and my dad, bless him, drove 6 hours to come and get us. My dad got to the apartment around 5 this morning while my fiancé was still sleeping, and we left. Me and my son are at my parents' poor house now. My fiancé has been blowing up my phone since this morning. I sent a text to him as we were driving off, saying he wasn't respecting the fact that I needed space and time to just figure everything out, so he could stay in the apartment, and I'll stay at my parents'. We haven't officially broken up or called the wedding off. My parents, who've paid for it, have said that they don't care if I want to call it off, but I feel bad. I just want to say thank you to everyone who replied to my original post and private messaged me. I didn't think people would care about me. I feel like every option I have is bad. The thought of being a single mom is scary. If my fiancé's behavior gets worse, that would be terrible. If we cancel the wedding and cost my parents thousands of dollars, I'll feel guilty. And if we break up altogether, we just got a house together. We're both on the mortgage, our joint accounts, and I've been with him since I was 19. Being without him for good is also scary. Now for a few comments. One commenter said, he sounds crazy and not the type of person you'd want to spend your life with. Another commenter added, NTA, what he said was really insensitive. Having a woman pregnant on purpose, especially if not planned and you made it clear that you didn't want it, is a serious matter. I believe you can seek legal advice. Though I'm no expert, you are not the idiot. You did the right thing. Warm hugs to you. I hope you figure it out. Someone else commented, it wasn't a joke. It's what he actually did. He just accidentally said it out loud too early because he thought he had her locked down. Another commenter advised, do not feel guilty about stuff that can be replaced or remade. Money? Not a problem. Canceling the wedding? Embarrassing for him because you know why you need to leave. He physically ripped the phone away from you, took your keys, and was absolutely being hurtful and throwing all the red flags you needed to get your dad to get you out. You and your baby's safety is top priority. If you go back to him, you would then have a right to feel guilty putting you and your child in harm's way. Do not go back to him. Get your father and police to show up at the apartment with you to retrieve your stuff. Go to court for child support custody. Do not give him a chance to get more violent and controlling. Please, OP, you only have one life. Do you want this to be your life 20 years down the road? He admitted exactly why he got you pregnant, and you should take it at face value with everything else he's showing you. He thinks he has you trapped, and you need to prove him wrong. OP gave a small update in the comments. He took my phone to get me off the call. I didn't expect him to literally come and take it out of my hand. He gave it back when I came out of the room. He just did it to get my attention. I left with none of my stuff, only essentials for my son. I will have to go back, but my dad said he and my brother will go today. Now for the 1-month update. I, female 23, made a post about my ex-fiancé, male 26, and a joke he made at Thanksgiving. Things escalated, and I decided to take our 7-month-old and leave. We've been at my parents' since then. I didn't go about it the right way, leaving without telling him, and the next morning, understandably, he was confused when we weren't at home. Initially, I went no contact, and because he couldn't reach me, he called the police, saying that he thought I was having some type of breakdown and have PPD, and that he was afraid for me and our son's safety. The police alerted my parents that I'd been reported missing and asked if they'd seen or heard from me, and we explained that I left because I felt uncomfortable in the apartment with him. So I started speaking to him again. I told him why I left, but apologized for leaving the way I did, and he also apologized for everything that's gone down. He said he'd bought stuff for me and the baby for Christmas already and wanted to give it to us, so he asked if he could come to my parents' house at Christmas. It was our son's first Christmas. Despite what's going on between us, he's still his dad, and I didn't want to make him miss out. I explained all this to my parents, who agreed to let him come, and we had a good day. He brought the stuff, like he said, and he was respectful and didn't drink. It felt like how it used to. He came back the next day because he left his wallet, but we talked for a while. He promised to stop drinking because that was what caused everything. Him getting drunk and saying something stupid without thinking, and he was all right with us postponing the wedding, saying he just missed his family. He asked if we'd come back with him, but I said I wanted to stay here. He said he understood. We didn't speak for a few days, and he sent a care package with things he knew I liked, and he wrote in the letter that since all my stuff was still at the apartment, he wanted me to have things that reminded me of home. I called him to say thank you, and we FaceTimed so he could see the baby. I went out on New Year's Eve with some friends from high school, and the day after, he texted me asking if I got home all right and if I was hungover. I said I was fine, but then I realized I didn't tell him I was going out. So I asked how he knew, and he said he saw me on an Instagram story and knew it was my first time drinking since giving birth. He said he didn't go out and could have watched our son, but I didn't plan to go out. Originally, I was going to stay home, but my mom encouraged me to go. By the time I decided I was going, it was too short notice. He wouldn't have been able to come in time since it's a 6-hour, maybe longer drive depending on traffic, but I could have at least let him know, I guess. My dad and brother wanted to drive back to the apartment to get my stuff, so I asked him when would be a good time for them to go. He said that I didn't need to move out, and that even though he thinks I'm blowing everything out of proportion, he would wait for me to get over it so we could be a family again, because he needs us. He said he'd stay in a hotel, and I should move back in. The wedding's been canceled. My parents lost most of the deposits, which I'm going to pay them back, and everyone I could tell that the wedding's been canceled, I've told. I'm not sure if he's done the same. At Christmas, my sister-in-law was complaining about the new iOS update and how annoying it was. I hadn't updated my phone yet, so I decided to do it then and left my phone on charge. When I remembered and went to check on my phone, it had reset, and my ex said that his one did the same thing. This account was a burner, and I didn't remember the details initially when I reinstalled Reddit, but I managed to get back into it. My parents said I can stay as long as I need, but I feel like a burden. They were supposed to go away in a week, but they've canceled it and lost all that money on the wedding. So, I need to figure myself out soon. A part of me thinks I'm being stupid, throwing away my family over what started as a drunk joke, but it's become more than that, and I'm just lost at the moment. But yeah, that's where I'm at. But I want to thank y'all. I've had a lot of messages and people checking on me. I know some are probably disappointed that I haven't cut him off completely, but it's not that simple, especially with a baby. These last few weeks, he's gone back to how he used to be, and I'm realizing that I've probably caused a lot of this by overthinking the joke. Now, for a few important comments. One commenter said, "You're in an hurtful relationship. It wasn't a joke. He baby-trapped you. I sincerely hope you get quality mental health care to help you be honest with yourself and the reality of your situation. You and that child are not safe with him. You need to get a lawyer to set custody and child support and set a parenting app. That should be the only way you are communicating. Your dad and brother need to get your things." Another commenter added, "Exactly. Listen to this. Why did he call the police instead of your parents? He called the police instead of your parents for a reason, and it wasn't out of concern for you. He got it on record that he was afraid that you were unstable and might hurt yourself and your child. Even if the responding officers reported back correctly, his request is still part of the official record. Do not go back to him." Maybe get an attorney to set up what his rights as a father are, but also to protect your rights as a mother. Am I the idiot for dropping everything and flying across the world just to see a painting? Hi, everyone. Excuse me if this isn't the correct subreddit for this question. One of my favorite paintings of all time is The Roses of Heliogabalus by Lawrence Alma-Tadema. I have spent countless hours looking at the intricate details of this painting on screensavers throughout the years, and as soon as I laid eyes upon it, I knew I had to see it in person. Unfortunately, it is in the private collection of a Spanish billionaire. However, this billionaire seems to be quite charitable, and every so often the painting is put on loan at various exhibitions across Europe. However, every time I find out about the exhibition, it is often too late for me to schedule a trip to fly. I live in Canada to see it. I need to see this painting before I die. Even thinking about seeing it in person makes me slightly emotional. Is there a fairly easy way I can keep tabs on this painting so I can ensure I'll be able to see it someday? Any advice is appreciated. Thank you. Now for a few comments. Henrietta Stackpole suggested setting up a Google alert with the title and wished good luck. Ruthless Indecision shared that they have alerts for artists like Chelita, Egon Schiele, and Rothko, which led them to see a Rothko retrospective. They expressed love for Sir Alma-Tadema and wished the best of luck. Soul Crusher mentioned that the painting is displayed at the Cultural Center Centro in Madrid until January 12, 2025, and urged the original poster to move quickly to see it. When reading about the current exhibition, OP posted this question. If they had more time, they could have made it work, and were still heavily considering flying out there to see it. But they were on the fence. You need to reautorize Bob encouraged them to do it, and suggested stopping by the Museo del Prado. Then OP replied, update, well, I'm going to do it. I've decided to visit Madrid from John 6th to 13th to finally see this painting in person. I'm going to bring my mom, who has never been to Spain and has always wanted to visit. We're currently building our itinerary. I'll be sure to post an update when I finally get to lay eyes on the painting I've always said I need to see before I die. Thanks everyone for the advice, suggestions, and for even planting the idea of me actually going to Spain on such short notice to see this thing. We truly only live once, and I can't wait another 6 to 8 years in the hopes I'll be able to see it again. Life is just too short. Unicorn Yogi expressed happiness for OP and shared a similar desire to see The Desperate Man by Gustave Courbet. They also suggested seeing Las Meninas by Diego Velázquez at the Museo del Prado. Now for the 13-day update. I'm sure some of you were looking forward to an update, so here it is. Yes, I really did spontaneously book a flight to Madrid to see The Roses of Heliogabalus by Lawrence Alma-Tadema, and it was absolutely worth every penny. It was part of an exhibit showcasing pieces from Juan Antonio Perez Simon's private collection, and the collection as a whole was absolutely stunning. As I sat staring at this painting, it took me hours to finally leave the exhibit. I had two emotions running through my brain. One, that I'll likely never get to see this painting in my lifetime again. And two, that I'm incredibly appreciative that I was able to even see it once in my lifetime. This was a true bucket list item for me, and I couldn't be happier that I was able to make it happen. Thank you to everyone in the initial thread who gave me the push I needed to actually do this. I'm so glad that I did. Now for more art. Madrid is an incredible city of art and culture, and I'm soaking it up while still here. Cheers. Now for a few more comments. Kubal's Kitchen admired the spontaneity and shared a personal anecdote about art. Many Dragonfly9637 shared a similar experience with their husband visiting Garden of Earthly Delights. OP responded, expressing admiration for Bosch's work and the Prado's dedication to it. Making Sandwiches suggested visiting San Antonio de la Florida Chapel to see Goya's ceiling painting and recommended a train trip to Toledo for their museums. I Need to Reautorize Bob added that Toledo is a cool city, mentioning its connection to Lord of the Rings. OP replied that they are headed to Toledo in a few days and asked for museum recommendations. Sarah Choops suggested seeing all museums, ensuring they are open as they usually close on Mondays. Am I the idiot for confronting my girlfriend about our lack of intimacy and pushing her to open up about her struggles? My male 25 girlfriend's female 25 intimacy drive has completely disappeared. Pretty much the title. I'm very concerned about her at this point, and I have no idea what to do. Back in April-ish, we were having intimacy 2 to 3 times a day. We live in an apartment together. She's been taking online classes for her master's, and I'm working from home since the lockdown started. At some point, she got really busy and tired with a project, so we obviously stopped having intimacy temporarily. Since it's gotten over, though, which was nearly 4 months ago at this point, she's turned me down every time I've tried to initiate or set the mood for intimacy. I have never pressured her. I usually wait a couple of nights before asking again when she tells me she's not in the mood, which turned into waiting a week. which turned into waiting 2 weeks. At this point, I'm really concerned. We've never gone anywhere near 4 months without intimacy before. We've both always had pretty high intimacy drives. At this point, it's important to note that I do not press the matter or pester or pressure her in any way. The moment she says she's not in the mood, I back off immediately. I don't think I've messed up anywhere because she's always quite apologetic when she turns me down. Our relationship is pretty much perfect in every other way too. We cuddle and hug and have game nights and movie nights. It's never felt like we're drifting apart at any point. She hasn't been behaving differently, like she's upset or depressed. We give each other plenty of space too. It's not like we're constantly together. We have our own friend circles and we curl up on our own devices from time to time. I've tried talking to her about it, but she gets really upset and keeps insisting that nothing is wrong. I drop the matter pretty quickly too, because I don't want her to feel like I'm pressuring her to have intimacy. I just want her to let me in and tell me what's wrong. I honestly don't care about the intimacy, but I know there's something she's not telling me, and it's gone on long enough that I'm getting extremely worried about her. Now for a few comments. One commenter said, "If I was in your place, I too wouldn't pressure her for intimacy, but I damn well would pressure her for an explanation. From 2 to 3 times a day to not at all for 4 months? I would need answers, even if she was upset at having the conversation. It's okay to want or not want things in a relationship, but not communicating is not okay." I replied, "Thanks for the response. I don't want her to feel pressured or accused of anything, but I do want an explanation. Do you have any advice on how I can be sort of firm, but also make her feel comfortable at the same time?" The same commenter responded, "Honestly, if it's not something she wants to discuss, she's not going to do it calmly and rationally. She's going to get upset and try to skirt the issue. I would prepare for the fight and dig out why this is happening. She's gotten away with it for so long because it sounds like you love her, and that gives her the ability to dictate terms. If you can live with no intimacy and no explanation forever to be with her, more power to you. Otherwise, figure it out sooner rather than later." Another commenter advised, "You are doing the right thing by not pressuring her, so keep doing that. Your needs are important too, though, so you should continue trying to have a conversation about it. Just make sure you are being gentle, and don't bring it up at a time when you are trying to initiate intimacy. Make sure she knows you care about her and are concerned and want to understand and help, because this is definitely a big change. You should let her know how you feel about not having intimacy and that it is important to you in the relationship, but be nice about it. Tell her that you miss having intimacy with her, not just in general. Make it about we and not me, to avoid giving her the impression that if she doesn't have intimacy with you soon, you might be out the door. It doesn't sound like that's where you're at, but this is a sensitive topic, so you want to make sure she feels as secure as possible." They continued, "It's concerning that she gets upset when you do try to have a conversation about it. I don't suggest snooping, and I wouldn't assume cheating. It sounds like she is having internal struggles about this. Did something happen right before this issue started? Someone else suggested a traumatic experience. It's possible she is dealing with something from her past that is for some reason now coming up or causing her distress. It's also possible she is feeling depressed or anxious even if you haven't noticed. Some people are able to hide it from others and function mostly normally while still suffering inside. Has her body changed at all? Could she be feeling insecure? Other than that, do you know her love language, and are you communicating with that? I'd suggest a date night where you take care of her. Cook her a nice meal. Let her pick a movie. Make her a bath if you have a bathtub, or give her a massage, and then don't ask for intimacy. Just make her feel cared for without the expectation of intimacy. See how it goes. Be patient and gentle. Best of luck." I replied, "Thank you so much. I think this is the best advice I've gotten so far. I am going to tell her that I don't mind giving her space and time till she's ready to talk about it, but I am going to ask her to acknowledge that there at least is something she's not telling me, if only for my own reassurance that I'm not going crazy. Other than that, you're right. I haven't done something special for her in a while because we've both been busy. This weekend, I'm going to go big. Not a proposal or anything. I know that would be inappropriate. I'm not stupid. Just a really big treat for her. Wish me luck." Now for the 3-day update. Thanks to everyone who replied to my previous post. There were some mixed responses, with some people suggesting I insist on addressing it with her because she's hiding something, with others recommending I give her time to open up on her own. Ultimately, I decided to sort of go for a combo of the two. Friday, when we were both done with work, we sat down and had a discussion. I told her that I could give her the space and time she needed till she was ready to talk to me about it, but I couldn't leave it unaddressed. She needed to acknowledge that there at least was something that she didn't feel ready to tell me, and that was fine, but she at least needed to acknowledge its existence. if only so I stopped feeling like I was going crazy. She started sobbing when I was done, and then she started explaining everything. Some background that I didn't mention in my previous post because it didn't really seem relevant is that my girlfriend has PCOD. One of the consequences of this is that she finds it very difficult to lose weight and has been insecure about her body for most of her life. About a year ago, completely of her own choice, I have always told her that she's beautiful to me, no matter what her weight. She resolved to start losing weight, both for her health and to feel better about her body. She started going to the gym a couple times a week, and I was supportive and also cut out all my own junk food consumption in solidarity. Since the lockdown started and gyms shut, apparently she started slowly gaining some weight back due to stress eating and lack of exercise. I am ashamed to say I did not even notice that she was torturing herself over her weight all this while. She admitted that she stopped having intimacy because she was terrified I would stop finding her attractive after seeing her naked. I reassured her that I think she's gorgeous and attractive no matter what, and I tell her this every day, but she was afraid that would have changed once I saw the weight she had put on. The rest of the conversation consisted of me reassuring her that she's beautiful and her appreciating but not really believing me. After a bit, she asked me to change the topic, and I reluctantly agreed. We had a fairly quiet dinner. She was a little sad and relieved at the same time at having told me, I think, and I was busy scheming. The next morning before work, I told her she looked lovely again, and she gave me a wan smile, like she appreciated it but didn't really believe me. But that was okay. I was going to convince her. I asked her to pick up the groceries that evening because I was going to have a meeting run late. The moment she left home, I got to work. I dug out some fairy lights and a bunch of candles from storage and started setting them up in the living room. Made a couple of playlists and charged the speaker. Snuck down to the florist and bought a giant bouquet. Some more background. I hate dancing because I suck massively at it, while my girlfriend loves it. She used to go dancing every month or two with her girlfriends before lockdown. I'd join in sometimes because it was worth how happy it made her, but she definitely missed it way more than me. So when she got back, naturally, I greeted her with what were probably the most ridiculous dance moves in the history of mankind. I'm not gonna lie, folks. She laughed. She laughed a lot. She took a short video, and we both laughed while watching it later. My movement resembled a 5-year-old practicing kung fu more than it resembled dancing, and I had stuck a rose in my ear for maximum ridiculousness. Totally worth it, though. I have no idea how she ever thought she's ugly. Her smile is just so freaking radiant. We danced like idiots for a while before I switched to the slow dance playlist. It was definitely the happiest I'd seen her in a long time. I'd been a bad boyfriend and somehow missed how much she missed everything else. I should have done it months ago. I told her all this. Told her she's the most beautiful woman in my eyes and always will be. And yeah, we had intimacy. Last night was all about her. She needed to feel special, and I had been missing that for too long. I offered to make dance nights a weekly thing afterward, kind of as a substitute for the workouts she's been missing if she wants. She tore up a little. She knows how much I hate dancing. She told me that wasn't necessary. Apparently, intimacy is just as much of a workout as dancing, and we have a lot of missed workouts to catch up on. I'm certainly not complaining. In all seriousness, though, I'm going to dip into my savings a little and order a home treadmill. She can't afford one right now because of college bills, so I'll surprise her with it. Thank you to everyone who helped me out with their advice. Now for a few comments. One commenter said, "This is too cute. My only advice is to make sure she's cool with the treadmill. As much as I'd like to think she would be over the moon with it, there's always the small chance she could see it as you saying she does need to lose weight. Remember, that's her insecurities talking though, not her. Keep up the good work." Another commenter added, "Dude, yes. Please, if you read nothing else, read this. As a woman with PCOS, if my SO bought me a treadmill without me expressing interest in wanting one, I would be devastated. I was able to lose a bunch of weight at one point, and I'm really comfortable with my body now, but this will be a major setback for her if it's not something she's asked for. It will make all of the good you've done worthless because she may think all of the compliments are lies." Then I replied, "You make a great point, and even though she's explicitly mentioned wanting one before, this was the comment that convinced me to bring it up with her rather than try to surprise her again. I'm going to frame it as buying one for our home for the both of us to use, so she doesn't feel targeted or guilty about me spending money. Thank you so much for the advice." Now for the 4-year update. Hi everyone. I spotted an end-of-year email from Reddit for this account, which reminded me of the existence of this throwaway, and I decided to do a quick Christmas Eve update on my profile page in case anyone was still interested, because a lot has happened in 4 years. We're both doing well. We got engaged about 3 years ago and adopted a cat, but it went a bit downhill from there because of a bunch of different health issues that hit her consecutively. She's largely recovered from the temporary ones, and the permanent ones are a lot more under control now thanks to regular health checkups and medication. But it was a rocky couple of years, not for our relationship, just for us in general. All the medical issues also meant she hasn't worked since, which isn't an issue financially, but for other reasons, which I'll come to in a moment. She's doing a lot better mentally now as well, at least relative to last year. She still struggles with self-esteem and feeling like a burden to her loved ones, especially me, particularly because of the aforementioned lack of work over the last few years. She's a lot more communicative about these things now, though, instead of bottling them up, so she's not let our relationship suffer for this. I like to think that even if her self-esteem hasn't gone up, her way of coping with it is a lot healthier now, and that's an important step in the right direction. She's even been looking to get back to work over the last month or so, despite the challenges of low self-esteem, severe imposter syndrome, and having to explain a years-long absence. And I'm really proud of her for not just giving up after the hand she's been dealt, health-wise. I'm doing really well. I switched jobs and fields about a year back, and I'm making a lot more money now, and I'm enjoying my work a lot more too. I actually started therapy recently as well, because there were some personal discipline issues I wanted to fix, and I ended up discovering a whole host of other issues I had repressed, and bringing them back out into the open and dealing with them has been simultaneously terrifying and liberating. But it's also made me a much better friend and partner, so it looks like I'm going to have to keep braving them for as long as it takes. As for the biggest one, we got married 2 months ago. We would have done it a lot earlier if she hadn't had a bunch of health issues pop up unexpectedly, but with her on the mend, we were finally able to plan and organize the thing so everyone we wanted to be there could be there. I honestly sometimes still find it surreal. Like, TF, I'm a husband. It still feels like I'm dreaming sometimes, and I'm still that clueless, wide-eyed college kid. But I look at the woman sleeping next to me, and I remember all the ways I've changed for the better, all the ways I've grown up because of her influence, and I feel really lucky to have her. And I know that I and she still have a lot more growing up to do. But I'm feeling this overwhelming contentedness within because we get to do all that growing up together. I don't know if I'll update this again. Maybe if I get reminded of this account sometime in the future and something major has happened since. Until then, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, everyone, and I hope the new year is your best year yet.